Okay, so good morning once more. In our previous class, we completed our utilities module. Well, the final thing we implemented was validator module. So today, we'll be moving to commands. And under the command module, we will first of all start with the add module, where we can add tasks. We'll validate and add tasks. So after that, we'll move to list.js, where we can list our tasks, can mark our tasks as completed, we can delete, and we can use the help functionality to actually view some other commands of what we can do with our application. So without talking too much, let's see what we've got. So this is where we stopped, validator.js. And today we will move into this command directory, and in here, the first thing to do is to create a file. Let's create add.js file. So in this file needs this the utility modules. So first of all, we import our file manager, validator, and formatter. So we can use in this add.js module. So by importing, we use the import keyword because we are using ES modules. We say import file manager from utils/file manager.js. I think this should be file manager like this. So the next module we need to install is the validator. To import our validator from utils validator.js. And finally, we will import our formatter. Import formatter from utils formatter.js. So now that we have this module available, these modules available, we have them imported. So we'll start using them. But first of all, we need the add command class, where we can chain methods and properties to it, so it can be easier for us to add, task, validate, and all of that. So first of all, declare a class. You see add command like this. Add command. So this one here has a constructor. And this constructor initializes 3 properties. The first one here is the name, which is add. This name is equal to add. The second one is the description, and the third one is usage. So this description is equal to, say, add a new task. And the third property here is usage. This usage is equal to, and this will be, we say how we're trying to show them how to add a task. That's how to use our application. So we say add, and then we say here is their description. That, and the optional argument, which are one here is priority and level. like this. So now that we have our constructor ready, the first method we need in our add command is the execute method. So let's add our execute method, and it's an asynchronous method actually. So we see async execute. So this one we take args and options. Args, options, which will default to an empty object. In this execute method, so since it's an asynchronous method, we have to account for errors. So we say try. This is our try catch block. And in our catch block here, what we want to do is we just log errors to the console. See console.error formatter dot format error. Formatter.format error. Remember, we have a format error method in our formatter module. Then we see error. So we want to properly format this error. Error message like this. So we've handled our catch block. If we have any error, we format this error here, show the error on the console. So now let's implement the actual logic for our execute method. Okay. So first of all, we have to validate our arguments. So after validating our argument, we grab our description, we grab our priority and other necessary properties to create our task. So we see const args validation is equal to validator. Remember, we have our validator module imported as well. Validator.validate args. So how do we validate our args? Remember, we have a validate args in our validator, and we pass 1, 1. So these are our args. This is the mean length, max length. So let's look at our validator once more. Validator, and we have our validate args method. So we have our args, we have the mean args, and we have the max args. So in this case, we're trying to see validate our argument, but we need a minimum of one argument and a maximum of one argument. So if you pass more than one argument, we get an error. So look at how we're validating. So first of all, if our args here property here is not an array, so we return it's valid false and argument must be an array. So we move on. If args.length is less than, or so this is the validation for this. So we'll go ahead and validate our args right now. So we are passing the args. We are receiving the args as an argument, as a parameter to this execute function, and passing it as an argument to our validate args method. So now that we've validated our args, we do some checks. So we say if valid args validation is not valid. If it's not valid, what do we want to do? We want to actually show them an error on the console. So error formatter dot format error. So I want to format error. So what is the error? The error is the args validation error. So let's look at the args validation. If you look at this once more, if there's an error, we're returning an error property. We're returning an object which is valid being false and a property of an error. So this is where we're getting this error. So if it's not valid, it definitely means there's an error property on this object. So we're grabbing it and then formatting it. So if you look at the formatter.js here, you will see format error. Format succeed, they say format error. And then we're colorizing it. We're adding it an icon of X, then colorizing it with red. And then the message is also being painted with red and all of that on the console. So we'll see this in action in just a few minutes. So now that we've logged it to the console, what else do we want to do? We want to show them how to use our application. But we write this method, but for now, we just say this, okay, this show usage. And then after logging the error to the console, we show them how to use the application and they will return. We'll not proceed. We'll not do any other thing. Okay, so this is our execute function. So if there's an error, this is what we do and we will return. But if there's no error, we'll grab our description. So const description is equal to args0 because our argument is an array and we'll see that in a bit. So now that we've grabbed our args0, the description is the first element in our argument. So we've grabbed it at index 0. So now that we've grabbed our description, we also need a priority. See, const priority is equal to options dot priority, like this. So we also have access to our options. So we've also grabbed our priority. Now we also need to validate our description. And we also need to validate our priority as well. So how do we validate our description and priority? So the first thing we have to validate is our description. So we see const description validation is equal to validator dot validate. We have a validate description on our validator as well. So if you come over to validator, you see there is a validate just a validate description, which is the first method we have here. So we validate our description. Validator dot validate description. Then we pass in our description as an argument to the validate description method. So pass in description, this. So we check if it's successful or not. So if we get an error, if it's valid is false, that means we have an error. So we log the error to the console. So let's grab this one here real quick. So let's grab this one here real quick. And then drop it over here. Okay, so we say if description validation is not valid, we want to log the description error. Description validation error. We want to log it to the console. But this time around, we don't want to show usage. We just want to return, simply return like this. Okay, so now we've validated our description. Now it's time to validate our priority. So the same thing going on here, we just copy this, paste it here. And this time around is priority validation. Then we change this one to validator.validate priority. Validate priority like this. And what we pass in here is also priority because this is what we want to validate, priority. Okay, so now that we validated our priority, we want to check if there are any errors. So come over here and see priority validation. If it's not valid, we'll also format it and we'll see, okay, priority validation dot error, and we will return. So they will know what they are doing wrong and they will go ahead and make changes. So now that we've validated our priority, or we validated our description, it's time to actually create our task. So if we go past all these steps, the next thing is to create our task. See, const task. So this is equal to, remember we have a method on the file manager that adds tasks. So we see await, and it's also asynchronous. So let's check it real quick. If you come over here, you see a method for add task. Well, so I guess, okay, add task, and it's asynchronous right here. So we'll go ahead and call our file manager to add file manager add task. So our add task method here takes an object. This method takes an object as a parameter. So we also accept an object as an argument here. So in this object, we say description. We have our description right here. And we have our priority. We also have completed, which is default, which the default is false. But now that we have our description, now remember in our validator that if we validate our description and everything, we go past all these steps, the next thing we return is valid is true, and the value here will be the validator, the trimmed version of the description. So we've trimmed the description to remove extra spaces. So that will be the value. So if we come over to our add JS, we'll say the description here will be description validation dot value. Description validation value. And the priority here also will be priority validation value, because there are no errors. So now we've added our task. So what does the add task return? Let's check our file manager. The add task actually returns a new task. So what do we want to do with the return task? So we see we want to format. So remember, this is a command line interface application. So what do we want to do? The next thing is to log this to the console, and it will say formatter format success. So what is the success we want to format? We just want to say task added successfully. I guess this is how it's spelled. Like this. Let's add an exclamation mark. So task added successfully. And then we also want to format the task. We want to show them the task they've added. See, log this to the console and say formatter format task. And then we pass in the task they've created as an argument, format task. But if you come over to the formatter, you will see there is also a format format task. So since we've added and everything, we formatted the task here and they will see it on the console. So you can say, I said I'll push this to GitHub, but I actually forgot and you did not remind me. So it seems you are not interested, but maybe after this class, I will still push it to GitHub so you can play around with it. But now that we've added the task and it's successful, we will log to the console task added successfully, and we'll say format task, so they can see it on the console and it will look beautiful. So now we've implemented the logic to add task. So after adding our task, we have another method left, which is show usage, the method we're using in here. So at first we are validating our asks. So if is valid is false, we are trying to show them how to use the execute function. So we have another method to implement. So this one here is show usage. And show usage takes no parameters. So what do we want to do here? We just want to say log. We want to do something like okay, let's see. On a new line, we want to format help. Just also format help. So what we do is we say, okay, format help. And all the methods are here, format help, like this. So we'll pass in usage and we'll add a column. Okay. Plus, this is concatenation. What's the error all about? Format usage. Okay, so the way to find out this error is run this function. So we'll say node src/commands/add.js. So let's take a look at what the error is. Okay. Okay, so we'll move this out of here. I guess it should be here because it's a method on its own. Okay, so the error, we no longer have an error. And if you're wondering how I'm getting these errors, let me show you. I have a linter. And anytime I make because JavaScript is very difficult to debug. So if I save this file now, you see here, Prettier is warning me. Prettier is warning me that there's an error. So anytime I see this red thing here with Prettier, with this warning icon, I'll know there's an error. Then I'll try to find it and fix it. Okay, so now if I save this, there's no more error and Prettier is now happy. Okay, so we log that. And the next thing we want to log is let's just copy this and paste, then remove this. Let's add template strings and add like 2 spaces. Prettier, I said you shouldn't do this. Okay, 2 spaces, and then we'll interpolate this. We'll say format usage. And the usage will pass this name, and we'll pass this usage like this. So if you take a look at the format usage method here, okay, so the format usage method here essentially takes in the command and usage. So the command is this.name, and that is a command because the command is we want to add task. We say add, say the command and this. So this is basically the format usage method. So this is what we are doing. And if you are wondering where this.name and this usage is coming from, it's coming from the constructor. We have this name. The name here is add, and the usage here is add, description, priority, blah, blah, blah. So this is where all these are coming from. So now that we've shown them how to actually use it, we'll add another console. We'll add another log to the console. And this one here we'll format help as well. And then We also show them options, the options they can add to the command in order to create tasks. So see the options here, we'll say, okay, you have options here. Okay, let me remove these dots here. Okay. The options are priority. And the priority, you can set priority here. The level can be high. So let's say level. And level here means priority. Then you add the level, either high, medium, or low. Now we add a little description so they can understand what we're talking about. Priority. And in brackets, we add low, medium, high. So they basically understand how to use our application very well. Okay, so anytime they want to create a task and they get an error and we invoke this show usage method, we get something like usage, add, task, blah, blah, blah. And then we say, okay, the options, you can add this, append it with these options to add a priority. But if you don't, then the priority will be defaulted to medium, I guess. I guess that is how we wrote it. Okay, so now we finalized our add module. So we have to export our class in order to use it. Export default add command. Finalized our add command class and we've exported it. Okay, so now that we've exported our add command class, before we implement other method like list JS, we have also delete JS. We have another one which is complete JS, and the final one which is help JS. Before we implement all these ones, we want to start testing our application. So in order to start testing our application, we first of all we'll skip all these ones, and then we'll move over to part 4 of our application, which is the main application. And we'll close the command directory, we'll close the utils directory as well, move over to source, and then come over to index. And in our index.js, this is the main entry point. So routes commands to appropriate handlers. So we map all the commands to, or we'll route all the commands to their appropriate handlers, so that if you want to add, we'll know which one to handle. If you want to delete, we'll know which one to handle, and all of that. So we'll also handle command line arguments in this file. We'll use dynamic import for command loading and all of that. So in our index.js file, we will import our built-in module from utils. I guess it's utils. No, it's file. No, it's URL. URL, not utils, because it is file URL to path. File URL to path. Okay. Because it's JavaScript, there's no autocomplete and it's buffering. So we also import path from path. So now we grab our file name and our directory name. So say const file name is equal to file URL to path, and then we say import meta URL, like this. So now we've grabbed our file name and we've already tested this, we can clear our terminal and then move back to up. KodeCamp 5 / task manager. Okay, so now that we're in our app, we can run node /index.js. Okay, so let's log the file name, log file name. So we discussed this when we were treating an inbuilt modules, but let's look at what we've got here. Run this command once more, and we'll see that it's the complete path to this file, including the file name and its extension. But what we want here is a file directory, not including the file name. So how do we grab this? So we see const directory name is equal to, this is equal to path die name. No, this one doesn't have underscore, path directory name. So this path, this inbuilt module name path has a method called directory name that extracts this. It will extract this from here to this place, leaving the index.js. So extract it, they will pass in the file name. So now let's log in the directory name instead of, let's log the console to the console, the directory name instead of the file name. So we'll see what we've got. So let's clear the terminal first, then run this once more. So you can see now that we no longer have this directory, including the file and the file extension. We only have the directory that is pointing to this file here. Okay, so what do we want to do with it? So we'll have a class. We have another class in here, and this class is a class task manager. So this class, it has a constructor. So pass constructor with two properties. So this command is equal to an empty object. And another one here, which is this load command. So this one is actually a method that we're calling in the constructor. So what does load commands do? So let's implement this method real quick. So we have async load command. So because we're executing this file directly and it's a CLI app, we need to load this as we need to load everything inside of these files. So how do we do this? We say this command is equal to, because we are defaulting this to an empty object, now we populate the object with properties, or essentially properties or methods. So we say add, and add here is we say await import. What are we importing? We're importing the add command from add.js. You see this from command /add.js, and we say dot, oops, not this, dot default. Remember, we're exporting it. This is a default export. So that default means we are importing everything from this file. Everything in here we are exporting. There's a default export. So we're exporting the file completely. So that is the reason why we're importing it here. And the default here means this add here holds all the code in this file. So I guess that is the only method implemented so far. We have list. Let's leave this to an empty string. We have complete. This should also be an empty string. Delete, empty string. Help, an empty string as well. So this is our load commands JS. So we can go ahead and comment this. So this is a reference to what we'll be implementing next. So now that we have our command ready and our load commands JS. So this means, you know what a constructor does. Anytime we create an instance from this class, this constructor will be called and all this will be imported automatically before we even do any other thing. So now that we have our load command ready, we have another method that passes arguments. So this one we see pass argument. So we pass our arguments. So we've been talking about argument, and I believe most of us may be confused. But if you have any questions, you can ask. But just be patient, and we'll understand everything about arguments and how we can pass them from a command line. So we see const args is equal to process. Nope. Process argument vector. Argument vector is an array. This is slice 2. Okay, so at this point, I guess we should just take a break and do something here. So we see const args is equal to process argument vector, and then we say log args. So we understand every bit of what is going on. So it's time. Remember, I told you that after everything, when we reach to where we'll be using all these utility functions and commands, we have to go back and start explaining everything bit by bit. So now let's start with the process argv. So this starts for argument vector. So if we clear the terminal, we're not going to be diving deep into the argument vector property on the process, but then let's log and see what we've got. So remember, look at what is going on here. When I say node src/index.js, you know that node here is a directory, let's say a directive telling our computer system to use node.js and execute this file, because this is a JavaScript runtime, node.js, and it is used to execute JavaScript and TypeScript, because v23 added support for TypeScript. So look at what's happening. Our node, the binary, the node.js binary is located in user local/bin/node. So when you say node, our computer is actually grabbing this from here. And then we say src/index.js. It will load the complete file path. And then it will use node.js to execute the code inside this file. It has nothing to do with the file name, actually, because we're referencing the file name here, because that is what is holding the code. So when we say node.js, we grab this and then execute this file. But look at, we are slicing 2. We'll say dot slice 2. Now, if we log this to the console, we see nothing. Why? Because here we are passing arguments and we want to create a task. And when we get to where we want to create a task, now our command will be something like task manager. Okay, let's say task manager create, or task manager add. And the next thing will be some task. That will be the description. So if you look at the argument vector here, let's say, for instance, this is our argument vector. So the first argument here is task manager, which is at index 0 in an array. The second one is add, which is at index 1 in an array. And the third one is our task description, which is at index 2 in an array. So we are slicing to slice 2. Slice means we are cutting it from index 2 inclusive down to anything that is after the index 2. Let's say priority. Priority will be low. So we are grabbing everything from some task down to the priority plus anything we add after the priority. So you know what slice does? 2 above. You understand? So this is basically what this slice here means. And this is what the argument vector. So if you do something like node.js, we have node.js sum, and you do something like this. Look at what we've got. We've got the sum here, but the node and the file, they are not there. We don't need those because the computer will handle those. But what we need is the description of the file. I mean, the description of the task we want to create. So if you remove this slice 2 here, and you log the entire argument vector, you will see that we have 3 items in our array. This one at index 0, this one at index 1, and the description at index 2. That's the reason why we're slicing from 2 above. If you say slice 2, 4, this is 2 and 3. 4 is exclusive. And if you look at the function description, let me just move up. Okay, we have the index to the end of the specified portion of string object. The substring includes the characters up to, but not including the character indicated by the end. So if this value is not specified, the substring continues to the end of the string object. So if we specify 2 and 4, we extract the one at index 2 and 3, but the one at index 4 will not be included. But if the 4 is not specified, we extract everything from 2 down to the end of the array. Great. So we've explained this one. Let's move on. Let's complete our pass argument method. So our pass argument method now, we have, now that we've sliced our argument from 2, we have our command, const command now is equal to arg 0. Our command is at an index 0. So we say const command args is equal to args slice 1. Then we'll grab our options as well. Const options is equal to this. Okay, this pass options. So we have a pass options method, which we will implement next. But this one, we want to pass our options, and then we'll pass in our command args like this. So after doing this, what do we want to return? We want to return, not here, please. We want to return an object with command. That is the command. The command may be add or delete or something like that. Command. And the args, which will be command args, and then we will filter arg that does not start with double, what is it called? Okay, I've forgotten the name, but let me just type it so you know what it means. So this will return command args filter. Okay, line 25 slice. Line 26. Okay, thank you. That's a typo error. Slice, actually, you're correct. So we want to filter out args. Arg dot starts with this. So if you want to pass in priority, we'll do something like okay, let me just move this a bit. So if you want to, let's say we have add some description. Let's say add some description, and we'll do something like this, and then we'll say priority is low. So, but what we want here is we want this description and priority. We don't want to include this dash dash priority. So that's the reason why we are filtering this. So we filter and then we remove this dash dash priority. We grab the actual value, which is low. This is the reason why we are saying args or filter args either start with this. We don't want to include that one inside. Okay, so that is the reason for that. And moving on, we have our options as well that we use options like this, pass argument. So now we passed our arguments, but then where is this pass options method coming from? Let's implement it next. So say pass options, which is a method. Functions in classes or objects are known as methods. So don't be confused. So see const options is equal to an empty object. So we'll run a loop, say for let I equal to 0. Then we say I is less than argument length. It's less than the argument length. We say I plus plus. We increment I. We first of all grab the argument at the current index. We say const argument is equal to argument at the current index, which is I. Now we'll see if arg starts with, if it starts with this thing here, what do we want to do? We want to say const key is equal to args slice 2. And the value becomes value is equal to args index plus 1 and args index plus 1 does start with this starts is okay, starts with. So if it does not start with this, we just return args index plus 1, else we return true. So if I is 0, then that is, if the index is 0, we're grabbing the argument at I. So that means the argument with dash dash priority. And we want to check is the option if we want to pass something like dash dash priority, or there's another option we also need, the option for maybe we want to filter task or all of that, but we want to check if it's not the key, because dash dash priority is the key, and the next value we pass, either low, high, or medium, is the value. So we want to check if it's the key or not. So that is the reason why we're grabbing the value here. Now, the value we're checking, if it's at index 1, and at that index 1, the option does not contain this, then we will return this because that is the value, else we will return true. And we'll see the reason why we are returning true in just a bit. Wow. So what's next? Then we say options key is equal to value. And we check if value is not equal to true. What do we want to do? We want to increment. We want to continue. We want to skip the value in next, we want to skip the value in the next iteration. So if the value is not true, we want to skip the value in the next iteration. So after running this loop, we will return options. Okay, so this method here, explaining it like this, we will be a kind of confused, but I just want to like highlight it. And when we start using it, we'll come back and see why we're running a loop and doing all of this in this method. So we have another method. This one is the actual method that is running our commands and all of that. So this method here, it's the run method, say run. So first of all, destructure our command, arguments, and options. Remember, we are returning command, arguments, and options. So the structure is, we say, const command, argument, and options is equal to this dot pass arguments like this. So have command any, args, any, and options, a default to an empty object. So have command, args, and options like this. So now that we've destructured this, what do we want to do with it? So if there's no command, or if the command is undefined, that means there's no command. We'll log to the console. We see clear task manager like this. And then we'll log another one. Let's say we'll say use help to see available commands. See use help to see available commands like this. And then we will return. We do an early return, we'll not proceed. But if there's a command, we see, let's proceed to the next line. If there's a command, see, const command class is equal to this global thing, this command like this. Okay, so remember we are loading the commands, and there's a command property here holding all the commands. Remember we have add, and if the command is add, we're just grabbing this add this thing here. Remember what it does. So we are grabbing it, grabbing the add. The command class here is the add. We are grabbing the actual class, this one, the add command. So let's see how we can use it. So we are grabbing it here because remember it's a default import. So that means everything here, this is a default import. So what we are grabbing here is the add command, the class, the entire class. So how do we use it? We'll come over here. Now that we have the entire class in our hands, we say if we do some validation, if command class, what do we want to do? We want to log to the error, to the console, an error, and see unknown command, see unknown command, and then we show the command they've entered, command like this. So we show them how to use the application again. So we say use help, to see available commands. Use help to see available commands. So now that we've seen them how to use it, we say process exit 1. So the process exits here. It's loading process exit. Okay, so the one here is an error code because something went wrong and we exited, but an error occurred. So that's the reason why we exited. But process exit 0 means success. No error occurred. So now we create an instance from the command class. So after passing this stage, if this command class exists, an error did not occur. So we say const command instance is equal to new command class like this. Okay, let me do away with this. New command class. So remember, the command class has an execute method. So we say command instance dot execute. See, the execute takes in args and options. So we pass in the args and the options like this. So these are the things we want to execute. So this is an asynchronous function. So we have to account for errors. So let's come over here, copy everything, add a try catch block, add this to the try block, and come over here, handle errors. So how do we handle errors? We log the error to the console if an error occur, and then we say error. This should be the error message. And then we exit with an error code, process exit 1, because an error occurred. So we see, let's do away with this. We say const task manager is equal to new task manager. And then we say task manager run like this. Wow. This is great. Okay, so what the run command here is doing is we're passing our arguments. So we're ensuring that we are correctly passing our argument. That is the argument we are entering on the command line. So we're passing it. So after passing it, we grab our command, argument, and options. So if there's no command, we say we log to the console, click task manager, and then we say use help to see available commands. We return. So they'll see this on the console and they will try to use help to see the available commands they can run, add task, delete task, and the rest. So, but if there is a command, remember we have an object here of commands. This object holds all the commands. So this we're importing the entire class from add, entire class from list, and the rest. So now that we've imported the entire class, remember we're using the name as the key. We have add.js, we're importing as default, and here the key here is add. So we are grabbing it by the name, which is the key. So we say command class is equal to this command. So if you enter a command which is add, if you enter something like this, add, when we pass this argument, we are getting the first argument here is as add. Now we'll bring this argument, and this argument we pass it here to use it, this add here, we use it to grab this command in here, which is in this object, which imports this class, this entire class. And that is where we are getting the execute. When we grab that, we bring it over here. So if you add list, so we use the list to grab the list here because the list is the key. When passing, after passing it, we use it to grab the class, the list class here, and run the execute. So now that we have all this, we are dynamically grabbing our commands and our class. So if there's no command class, we log an error, show them how to use our app, and then we exit with an error code. But if there is a command class, we say, okay, because command instance equal to new command class. So we create an instance from this class, and then we execute. We use to execute args and options. We use it passing in the args and options as argument to this execute method. So now we'll come over, we create an instance from this task manager, and then we'll run it immediately. And look at what the run method is doing. The run method is the one executing the main task here, which is passing the commands and then running it. If we execute this, look at the execute method on here, on this add command. We come over here. If there's an error, we show them how to use it. If not, we grab this, we add the task. After adding the task, we show them on the console that the task has been added. So everything is straightforward. So now that we've implemented our index.js, it's time to move over to the Oga Patapata of them all, which is the command line interface entry point. Where is it? The bin. So inside the bin here, we create, this bin means binary. So we create a file named task manager.js. So since this is a binary file, I will be executing it on the command line. We need to add a directory at the top that tells the computer system to use Node.js in our binary directory. Use this thing here, use this node here to execute our file. So how do we do that? We add a directive like this. Remember where it's located, user local bin node. But we can omit this local. We can say user, then we say bin /bin/env and then node. So if it's Python, you see Python like Python or Python 3. So if it's another file like other scripting languages, you see their names because you've installed Python and this is where Python is located. So I want to tell you though, use this Python in this path to execute this file. But in our case, it is node. So you must add it at the top. This is the first thing you must add at the top of the file. After this one, every other thing will come. So we need to import this one here. So let's come over here, quickly grab it, bring it here, paste it. And we need path. Okay, let me just quickly import path from path like this. So we need our spawn as well, import from child process. Okay, so let's come over to index.js and quickly grab these ones, bring it over here. Okay, so now that we have this, so we say main path is equal. This is the main path of our application, which is the index.js. So say const main path is equal to path join. So the directory name, which is the directory name. So we move one step outside the directory name. Because if you are in the bin and the task manager, so let's say we are in the bin. So if you are in the bin, you have to move like this before you get to the source directory, because look at the source, look at the bin, they are on the same level. But right now, the index.js is inside source. So you have to move one step outside of bin and then get into the source directory to get access to this index.js. So you do something like this, one step outside of the bin directory, and then you get, after moving out, what you will see is, you see other directories, but the one we want is the source. And then we'll move into the source to grab index.js. This is the main path because this is where the execution is happening. So inside the main JS, what do we want to do there? So we say const child, which is the child process. Remember what spawn does. So if you can't remember, you should go back to our previous video or check the Node.js docs. It streams, it will execute a file and then stream the output. So as the execution is happening, you'll be seeing the output on the console. So we say const child is equal to spawn. So pass in node. And it accepts an array of arguments and an object. So pass in node. The next thing will be an array, which is the main path. And the arguments, the arguments as well. See, dash, dash, This is the spread operator. You spread the process argument vector slice 2. And the next thing will be an object. And this object will specify the standard input and output. We'll say inherit. So inherit this thing from the command line. Inherit it. Inherit. So we want to use this. You want to use this thing here, this one here, to stream the output. We want to inherit this and use this to stream the output. So we have the shell. True. So this is actually, some of us have not heard the name shell, but this is actually a shell where we can shell. Just know that the command line is actually the shell is part of the command line. So just know that. But we're inheriting from here, and then we're using the shell, we're using the command line to stream output. So now that we've executed our file, now we have to handle the streaming process. Child.on close. So if it's done executing, this is the code. And then we'll see process exit code. And the code here is a number. It can be 1, 2, that is, it can be 0, which is success, 1, error, and other code, which means error, about different type of errors. So if it closes, we want to know the exit code. So say process and exit code. So we can even log to the console code, or we can say child code like this. So we know what we are looking at. So we can say, since it closes, we want to know the code it closes with. And we can say child on error. So if an error occurs, now this time around, we want to log the error to the console. Okay, console error. We want to log the error to the console, and you see here will be error message like this. I will say process exit. Here is not code, it is 1. So this is error, the error we're logging to the console, and then we'll pass 1 here because it's an error. So we don't need to even exit with the code. We just exit with 1 because an error occurred. Great. So now that we've done this, we need to make this task manager executable. Executable means okay, before we even make it executable, I would love to show you an example. We can see node source index.js, and then we'll say add. Now you can see where the add is. Index 0, index 1, index 2, and we're slicing from index 2. Okay, so we'll say add testing CLI app like this. Now we hit enter. So error args is not defined. Okay, args, that should be args. Okay, args is not defined, so I suspected the error will be from here. Args options. Args options. Args. So this pass argument is returning command args and options. We have args command filter arg Act does start with. Okay. Let's add the console log here. I know there will be errors because of JavaScript loose. Then we have options. So let's run this once more. Args is not defined. Okay. So I guess the reason why is because wow. Don't think so. Let's add it here. Clear, run. Args is not defined. Task manager, pass options, pass options, pass argument. Pass options, 3823. Okay, so there's an error with pass options. I guess that's where this accepts a parameter of args. This is where the error is coming from. So it accepts a parameter of args. So let's just comment this and run this one more time so we can see what we've got. Clear the terminal and run this. Unknown command add. Use help to see available commands. Wow. Unknown command add. Okay. Let's use okay. First of all, we have here, we've specified the task manager and we're trying to run this directly. So let's make our task manager executable. ch mode plus x. Let's make it executable, bin slash task manager. So now it's executable. So let's install our application. Say npm I task manager, npm I. Okay, let's sudo because I'm on a Mac. So if I don't use sudo, it will not work. Sudo npm install global our package. And I will enter my password. Oops, task manager. File already exists. Okay. Let's change this to task manager 2 or CM like this. Then run this once more. Okay. So change this to rename this to TM as well. Clear the terminal and run this once more. Okay. You know what? Let's undo this. Rename this back to task manager. And do this with -- false. Okay, so now it worked. So we have added one package in 388 milliseconds. So it means we've installed our package. Let's assume this is coming from npm. So now that we've installed it, let's try node this. Okay, so it still doesn't work. So let's try using our application directly. Okay, let's see. Task manager help. Unknown command help. Okay, because we don't child process child code 1. Okay, so we don't have command, but we can add. So let's go ahead and add a task. So task manager add testing, say testing play app like this. So unknown command add, use help to see available commands. Wow. So there's an issue with our app. Let's quickly debug. If command class, no. Okay, so there's an issue with our logic as well. Command log command class. Undefined. Wow. Use command. We have our command object here. This command is equal to add, which is this command add JS await import. This command empty object. Yeah. New command class, command instance. Okay. So commands undefined, Okay, so this is serious. Pass arguments. So a passing argument as log args, command args, and options. Once more, okay. So we have add, testing help, add this. Okay. Let's run this once more. You see CCC add this. Command args. These are the command args. Options. Options is an empty object. So remove this. Save. Clear the terminal. Run this once more. So we have add command. The command here is add. So we have command, args, and options. Pass arguments. These pass arguments. Log pass arguments. this pass arguments like this. So let's see what we've got one more time. Okay, for command add args, testing, clean up, and then options is an empty object. So we have our command here. Command. The command is okay. So this command. So let's debug up to this level. So now that we have this, we see, okay. Let's log this command first. Okay, so our command is an empty object. So why is that? Why is that? Add these commands, await import commands, add JS, default, load command async. Wow. Async, load commands. Task manager is equal to new task manager run. So now we have an empty Okay, so let's try this here. Await this load command. So before we even do anything, let's first of all load the command and see. Okay, so now we have our command class. So let's load it directly inside of this place. We have our command class, and so I still see an error of command is not defined error. PA, this does command, this command class. Okay, so now we've debugged past this level. So moving on, error commands not defined, this command. Error command is not defined, process exits 1. So this should be here. So now let's log command instance. Let's log the command instance and see what we've got. Okay, so this is the command instance. Command is not defined. Okay, I guess this one here is causing the error. Okay, so I guess it's working as expected, but then our colors still have issues. So let's remove this one and let's run this add. So exhibit one argument allowed. So these colors are not correctly applied. So let's remove all the console logs now that our application is working. Grab this one here. And where else? Guess that's all. Wow. So we still have some issues with our application. The colors are not correctly applied. And okay, so let's say node. Okay, so this one here works. Node in this test CLI app. So now we've added, and now we can see this. Wow. So let's check our utility function and we'll check formatter, because I guess this is where the error will be coming from, I guess. So in our formatter.js, we have a couple of colors. Okay, so the error here is, and I didn't see this. We have to, now the color changes. We have to add a backward slash in every color here. Backward slash, backward slash, backward slash, backward slash, backward slash, like this. So let's run this once more. Whoa! Whoa! And our application is working. It's working actually, and this is sweet. So where is this 3 coming from? I guess I'm logging something that is not supposed to. 3. 3. Where is it? Okay, not there. Task manager. Console log. Okay, the code. We are logging the code somewhere. We're supposed to show child code and code. Okay, let me remove this and then add with package. Let's say with P. And this TA3. Okay, so the next thing is to find this 3 and remove it. So what to do is command F, console. Console. So I guess we have add. Add shouldn't. Okay, task manager. Okay, so I can't really see where this 3 is coming from, but we'll cite it sometime soon because it's weird. Okay, so now that we've added our task added successfully, and you see it has returned the task with task number 3, testing CLI app with P. That is the name of the task. So we can change this to testing CLI app with vtest. And now we have test number 4. And so the formatting is not that correct. We can come to our formatter and then we check format task. Where are we formatting our task? Show ID. This show ID, right? Show ID. Symbol. So let's see with playwright. Play. Right. Let's say dash priority is high. So now we can now see maximum one argument allowed. So our error is correctly formatting, and we see the usage. The usage here is add, description, and priority level. So options, priority level, set priority low, medium, okay. So I guess it's a mistake here, dash priority high. So what may be task manager app dash priority high. Okay, maximum one argument allowed. Oh. Wow. Okay, so that's by the way. Let's try adding another task without a priority and see the formatting first. Whoa. So I guess we tried this and it worked. So let's come over here. Okay, so it did not work. Did not work. Okay, so why did it not work and why is it not still working? So, in building a real world application, you will have to sometimes you encounter problems that you have to debug and debug and debug. Okay, but if we run task manager help or non command help, use help to see available commands. Okay. So chmod task manager non command help. So we've got another error we need to tackle. But we install this globally. Say sudo npm install. That's up to date. So it's up to date. And why is it causing issues? Okay, but the thing here is we've done this, but we need to make this. We have task manager. Here it is. Find path to URL spawn child process. This one spawn node inherit close process exit code. So I can't seem to see where our error is coming from. But this is task manager JS. Let's see. Task manager is showing green. Now if it's okay, the help command is not yet available, but the add is available. So why is it add? Maximum of one argument allowed. So let's check out the add JS. Whoa. We're specifying one here. Okay, let's do this. Okay, task added. And the task title is testing. So now the formatting is correct, but what you are seeing here is testing, not um, testing CLI app. Okay, so let's do this thing. I'm gonna add priority of high. We have 6. We still have testing. Let's remove this testing now. We have task number 7 is clear. So actually, there's still something wrong. Validate args and the minimum arg 1. Let's pass the maximum to be 5. Okay. Wow, wow, wow. So we've created 8 tasks so far. And now we need to know the reason why we are having this error. So the problem should be in our add.js. So let's check out our add.js. We have the add new task, and command 1.1. If it's valid, description asks 0. Asks 0. If it's valid, show usage, error, return, format error, format error. Format error. Wow. Okay, so let's make some tweaks here, actually. The add.js. Show usage, add.js, pass this one, post.1. Okay, so let's make some amendments to. Let's first of all start with our index.js. So here, let's do away with the load command. Make it more efficient. So our command here, let's say is equal to new map. Let's make it a map. And so here we change this to register commands like this. So now we have our command object. So we can just do const command modules is equal to this object here. So the next thing we will do here is after importing of the object, we will loop over the values. We say object entries, object entries, object entries, passing command modules. I will say dot for each command module. Each of them has a name and a command class. So we destructure that. We say name, command, class, Oops. So for each one, we want to set it to the map. We want to register the command. Say this, this command add name. The name should be the key, and the instance of the class should be the value. New command class. Nope. New command class like this. Okay, so we've changed this one. Register commands. So we have our pass args. Now in our pass argument, we'll first of all do some checks. See if args length is exactly equal to 0, we'll just return command, which is help. So once we return this command of help, args will be an empty array, and options here will be an empty object. So if we return this, once we pass, if the argument is if the args of length is 0, this will be executed, and what it will show help to the user instead of doing any other thing. So we say const args, or let's say const command is equal to args 0. Let's actually pass in args here. Args. So it's args 0 dot to lowercase, because a user may decide to pass in something like add, something like this. So we want to convert the command to lowercase. Say command args is equal to args slice 1. And args slice 1 const options. This should be an object. Const args. And then we can change this. Okay, let's say passed args. And the options is equal to pass options command args. And then we return command args and options. We have a command here, the args and the options. So the pass options here is returning options. And this options is actually an object of key value, key and value. Okay. So now that we've passed this, and just remove this one and say passed args. We don't have to do that. We don't have to repeat that here because we've already done it here. And here we have to modify this slightly as well. So we can go over here. We have our args, and then we can say const passed args is equal to an empty array. Then const options is also an empty object. So we loop over our argument. Then we grab an argument at an index. Then if we check if an argument starts with this two, what's it called again? Here, and we grab the option name. So if it starts with that, we say const option name is equal to arg slice 2. Now we'll check for the next argument. We say const next argument is equal to args index plus 1. So if this current argument here, args index, okay, if this current argument is at index 0, the next argument will be 0 plus 1, which is at index 1. So that is the next argument. So what do we want to do with this? So let's first of all get to remove all these ones we wrote earlier. So we are optimizing and rewriting our application in some areas. So say if next arg, if there's a next arg and next arg does start with this, what do we want to do? We want to say options, option name is equal to next arg, like this. And then we say I, oops, I plus plus. Else, options, options, option name is equal to true. So there's an outer if statement. So we'll come here and say else pass as push arg. So that this is where we're getting the past args, because we are returning in the options, we will return an object of args, which is past args and options, like this. So this is where we're getting the past args and the options from this past options method. So now that we've gotten this, we'll move over to our execute. Okay. So in this, so actually out of time, but this has been an interesting one. We actually, we almost completed our application, but then encountered some errors. So we are rewriting some parts, but after rewriting it, I will explain why we had to do that. But this doesn't change, as you can see. You already know how the pass options work, the args, and we're changing it to a lowercase, and then repassing the options. And this one here may confuse you, but then we will still explain it. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask, and we'll continue in our next class. We add another method here, rebuild our run method, and adjust our add JS module as well to work well and pass everything as expected. Though our application is running, but we have an issue. As you can see, if you say clear app, it only adds this. So we need to properly handle errors and do everything as expected. We fixed our colors and fixed every other thing. See, everything is running as well. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask.